What if I told you that 80% of what you're doing right now is basically useless? That your to-do list is lying to you, your study habits are broken, and you're working 5 times harder than you need to? Sounds harsh, right? But here's the thing. There's a mathematical principle that's been hiding in plain sight for over a century that proves this. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's everywhere. In your productivity, your learning, even in the apps on your phone right now. I'm talking about the 80-20 rule. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to use it to learn faster, work smarter, and finally stop feeling like you're drowning in tasks that don't matter. Let's go. Before we start, I'm going to guess where most of you are watching from. My bet? You're either at work pretending to be productive, or it's late at night and you're in a productivity rabbit hole. Prove me right or wrong in the comments. Where are you watching from?
Okay, so here's where this whole thing started. It's 1896, Italy. There's this economist named Vilfredo Pareto, and he's obsessed with patterns. He's studying wealth distribution, and he notices something weird. 20% of the people in Italy own 80% of the land. He's like, that's strange. But then he starts seeing this ratio everywhere. In his garden, 20% of his pea pods produce 80% of the peas. He checks other countries, same pattern. Different numbers, but always this lopsided distribution. And here's where it gets wild. Fast forward to today, and this pattern shows up in 1. Business, 20% of customers generate 80% of revenue. 2. Software, 20% of bugs cause 80% of crashes. 3. Your closet, you wear 20% of your clothes 80% of the time. 4. This video, 20% of viewers will drop off in the next 30 seconds. So why does this matter for you? Because if this pattern is universal, that means it applies to your productivity and learning too. Which means 80% of your results come from just 20% of your efforts. Let that sink in. Most of what you're doing, it's not moving the needle.
Let me paint you a picture. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You wake up and you check your phone. You've got 47 notifications. You make a to-do list containing 15 items. You tell yourself, today I'm going to be productive. You answer emails, attend meetings, organize your desk, update your spreadsheet, reply to Slack messages, fix that one tiny thing that's been bugging you. At the end of the day, you're exhausted. You did 12 things, but somehow you don't feel like you actually accomplished anything important. Here's why. You were busy, but you weren't effective. Most people confuse activity with achievement. They think productivity means doing more, checking off more boxes. But the 80-20 rule flips this completely. Real productivity isn't about doing more. It's about doing less, but better. It's about identifying the 20% of tasks that actually create 80% of your results and ruthlessly cutting everything else. Let me give you a real example. A clothing store discovered that 20% of their customers were generating 80% of their total revenue. The 20% were VIP customers who shopped frequently, bought premium items, and made large purchases, while the 80% were occasional shoppers who made smaller, infrequent purchases. Action taken. The store focused their marketing budget and personalized service on the top 20% of customers, resulting in increased loyalty and even higher revenue from this group. The 80-20 rule isn't about being lazy. It's about being strategic.
Now here's where this gets really interesting, because the 80-20 rule doesn't just apply to your to-do list. It completely changes how you should learn. Think about traditional education. You sit in a class. The teacher covers everything, every detail, every footnote, every exception to the exception. You study for 20 hours. You memorize hundreds of facts. Then the test comes, and they ask you about 10 things, and half of those you barely remember because you were so overwhelmed trying to learn everything. This is backwards. Here's the secret that top learners know. In any subject, 20% of the concepts explain 80% of the material. Let me break this down with examples. Language learning. In English, just 1,000 words make up 80% of everyday conversation. The remaining 20,000 plus words, they account for just 20% of what you actually use. So if you're learning Spanish, forget memorizing the word for discombobulate. Focus on the top 1,000 words first. Music. Most popular songs use the same 4 to 5 chord progressions. Learn those first, and suddenly you can play hundreds of songs. Don't start by trying to read complex sheet music for Beethoven's symphonies. Programming. 80% of coding is using 20% of a language's features. Loops, conditions, functions. Master those fundamentals deeply before diving into obscure libraries. See the pattern? The mistake most people make is they try to learn everything equally. But not all knowledge is created equal. You want to identify the core principles, the 20% that unlocks 80% of the field. Master those first. Then, if you need to, you can go deeper into the specialized stuff. So how do you actually do this? 3 steps. Step 1. Ask the expert. Question talk to someone who's already mastered what you want to learn. Ask them, if you could only teach me 5 things, what would they be? That's your 20%. Step 2. The frequency test. As you're learning, track what keeps coming up. The concepts that appear over and over, that's your 20%. They're repeated because they're foundational. Step 3. The application test. Ask yourself, if I only learned this one thing, could I produce something or solve a real problem? If yes, it's in the 20%. If it's just nice to know trivia, it's in the 80%. This is how people become naturally talented. They're not smarter, they just figured out the 20% faster than everyone else. All right, so you're probably thinking, this sounds great, but how do I actually use this starting tomorrow? Here's your action plan. For productivity, 1. The Sunday audit. Every Sunday, look at your upcoming week. List everything you think you need to do. Now ask, which 20% of these tasks will create 80% of my results? Be honest. Be brutal. That client proposal that could land you a huge project, that's in the 20%. Reorganizing your inbox folders, that's in the 80%. It feels productive, but it's a time vampire. Cut the 80%. Seriously. Delete it, delegate it, or put it in a someday list that you'll probably never look at again. 2. The Daily 3. Each morning, identify 3 tasks that matter. Not 10, not 15. 3. These are your non-negotiables. Everything else is bonus. If you do nothing else that day but complete those 3, you've won. For learning. 1. The Feynman focus. When learning something new, pretend you have to teach it to a 12-year-old in 10 minutes. What would you include? That's your 20%. Everything else is fluff. 2. The 80-20 study session. Instead of reading the entire textbook, find the summary chapter. Read that first. It'll give you the 20% framework. Then, you can fill in details as needed. 3. The real-world sprint. Don't just consume information. Use it immediately. Want to learn Excel? Don't watch 20 hours of tutorials. Learn one function, then use it to solve a real problem at work today. Application beats accumulation every single time. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. But what about the other 80%? Don't I need that too? Sometimes, yes. If you're a brain surgeon, you probably need to know more than just 20% of brain surgery. But here's the thing. You learn the 20% first. Master the fundamentals. Get really, really good at the core. Then, when you actually need that specialized 80%, you can learn it quickly because you have the foundation. You're building a pyramid, not a pancake. Strong base first. Before we end, I need to give you a warning, because the 80-20 rule can be misused. It is not permission to half-ass everything. It's not about doing sloppy work on the 20% and ignoring quality. It's about doing excellent work on the 20% that matters and being okay with good enough on the rest. There's a big difference. The 80-20 rule is really about something deeper. It's about intentionality. It's about asking what actually matters in a world that's constantly screaming at you that everything matters. Your attention is finite. Your energy is finite. Your time is the most limited resource you have. So why would you spend it on tasks that don't move you forward? On learning things you'll never use? On being busy instead of being effective? The 80-20 rule is your permission slip to focus, to say no, to stop drowning in the trivial many and start winning with the vital few. Because here's the beautiful part. When you cut out the 80% that doesn't matter, you don't just get your time back, you get your life back. You get space to breathe, to think, to create, to actually enjoy what you're doing instead of just surviving it. So here's your challenge. This week, just this week, try it. Identify the 20% in one area of your life. Maybe it's your work. Maybe it's a skill you're learning. Maybe it's how you spend your evenings. Find the 20%. Focus there. Let go of the rest and watch what happens. And if you want more videos on working smarter instead of harder, subscribe, because we're just getting started. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and focus on what matters. I'll see you in the next one.